Today, we're going to explore one of the most classic fears in horror films with 7 scary stories involving strange connections. Get ready to hear chilling accounts of mysterious phone calls, unknown voices on the other end of the line, and disturbing messages received at the most unexpected moments. Let's dive into stories of ordinary people who had their routines turned upside down because of a simple phone call. So, sit back, keep your cell phone close or far away, and let's begin this chilling journey. Oh, and before the phone rings, take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and leave your like. This really helps the channel, and make sure you don't miss any scary content like this. Let's go. Calls from unknown number. The clock read 11:17 p.m. when Laura Evans' phone rang for the first time. It was an ordinary Tuesday, and she was already lying down, reading a detective novel to try to relax after an exhausting day at the law office. The cell phone display showed unknown number. She hesitated, but answered. Silence on the other side. Then a sharp click and the call was disconnected. The next night, at the same time, the phone rang again. Laura answered, irritated. Again, silence. Only then did he notice a slight sound of breathing, and then the same click. The pattern repeated itself for 3 nights. On the 4th day, she blocked calls from unknown numbers, but the phone rang again, this time from a different number, also hidden. On the 6th night, the voice finally spoke. "Good evening, Laura." It was masculine, low, almost whispered. "You look tired today. Did the wine help you relax?" Laura froze. That night I had actually had a glass of wine before bed, but I hadn't posted anything on social media or talked about it with anyone. "Who are you?" he asked, trying to sound firm. Silence. Then the click. On Saturday, Laura changed her routine. She closed all the curtains, left the lights on, and informed her friend Sophie, who lived in the same building, about the calls. At 11:17 p.m., the phone rang. "Did you like the movie?" said the voice. "You laughed out loud at that scene with the dog. The blue pajamas are cute." Laura felt her stomach turn. She was home alone, in blue pajamas, and had watched a romantic comedy. There was no way anyone could know this without observing. The police were called. Detective Mark Turner took the case seriously, but explained that without explicit threats, little could be done. "Keep doors and windows locked. Don't answer anymore. Write everything down." On Sunday, Laura installed security cameras in the hallway and living room. In the evening, he didn't answer the call, but he received a text. Message, "Aren't you going to talk to me today? I'm so close." Camera recordings only showed the normal movement of the building, but on Monday, Laura found a letter under the door. "You ignore me, but I see everything. You're beautiful when you're scared." The paper was folded perfectly, with no fingerprints. The pattern of calls has changed. Now during the day, Laura received messages. "Did you like lunch? The coffee was too strong, don't you think?" Or, "That red dress doesn't suit meetings." The stalker knew her routine, her wardrobe, even office details. Sophie began accompanying her to work and back, but the feeling of being watched didn't lessen. One night, upon returning from work, Laura found the apartment door ajar. The heart raced. He called Sophie, who ran downstairs. Together they searched the apartment. Nothing seemed out of place, except for Laura's cell phone, which was on the table with the screen unlocked and a new message. "You forgot to lock it. I could have gotten in." The police intensified surveillance. They discovered that the stalker used apps to mask the number and send messages from public Wi-Fi networks close to the building. Detective Turner suggested that Laura change her routine, avoid usual places, and stay at Sophie's house for a few days. The next night, Sophie's phone rang at 11:17 p.m. "Did you change the bed, Laura? Is her pillow softer?" It was impossible to know that Laura was there unless someone was watching them from the outside. Sophie ran to the window and saw a figure standing on the other side of the street, under the yellow light of the streetlight. As he shouted, the figure disappeared around the corner. Police collected images from security cameras in the building and the street. A man wearing a cap and surgical mask appeared in several recordings, always at a distance, always watching. He never got too close, never left a trace. The next morning, Laura received an envelope in the mail with no return address. Inside, a photo of her sleeping, taken from outside her bedroom window. On the back, the message, "You are never alone." It was enough for the police to request a court order and track the last Wi-Fi connections used to send the messages. The searches led to an internet cafe 2 blocks from the building. The employees recognized the man in the images, a former college classmate of Laura's who had failed a course due to plagiarism reported by her years before. Since then, he had changed cities, but he had never overcome his obsession. He was arrested trying to access the building with a makeshift master key. During interrogation, he confessed to having monitored Laura for months, studying her routine, hacking cameras and social networks, and using applications to mask calls and messages. For Laura, the feeling of relief mixed with trauma. He changed apartments, replaced all electronic devices, and began to live under constant surveillance. The scariest thing, he told police, was realizing that someone could invade every aspect of your life without ever being seen, and that the fear doesn't end when the calls stop. The case prompted a wave of warnings about digital privacy and stalking in Manchester and served as a grim reminder. Sometimes the greatest danger lies not in the unknown, but in the one who watches silently, waiting for the right moment to approach. The last message, it was a Friday night when 16-year-old Jamie Carter's cell phone rang. The number was unknown, but the voice on the other end was unmistakable. It was Ben, his best friend, who had been missing for almost a week. The call was full of static, but Ben whispered desperately, "Jamie, please listen to me. I'm trapped. It smells musty. I think it's a basement. I hear footsteps at night. He said he'll be back today. Please find me. There's a small window. I see a red sign outside. I don't know where I am. Please don't hang up." The call ended abruptly. Jamie tried to call back, but the number was out of range. Trembling, he told his mother everything, who immediately called the police. Detective Inspector Helen Price listened to the account and asked Jamie to repeat every detail. Police tracked down Ben's last known location, but it was vague. Just an old neighborhood on the outskirts of Leeds. The case was already highlighted in the newspapers, as Ben was not the first teenager to disappear in that region. The police suspected a connection with other disappearances, but had never received such a direct lead. They organized searches, searching streets, alleys, and abandoned houses. The next morning, Jamie remembered one detail: the red sign. He and Ben used to ride their bikes along industrial streets, where several old houses had for rent or no trespassing signs. Together with the police, they reviewed security camera footage and identified an area where Ben could be. After hours of searching, a team located a house with a peeling facade, with a small red "Caution Wild Dog" sign next to a basement window. The place seemed abandoned, but as they approached, they heard faint knocks coming from inside. The police broke down the door and went down to the basement. The musty smell was intense. In a corner, chained up and visibly dehydrated, was Ben. He cried when he saw Jamie and the police officers. He said he was coming back tonight. "I didn't think I was going to leave here." The rescue was broadcast live on local radio. Ben was taken to hospital with signs of malnutrition and trauma, but survived. The basement had old mattresses, food debris, and nail marks on the walls, signs that other people had been there before. In a locked closet, police found personal items belonging to other missing teenagers: watches, bracelets, notebooks with names and dates. The investigation revealed that the owner of the house, a middle-aged man named Alan Rowe, was an employee of a moving company and used access to empty houses to kidnap young people. He chose victims he knew by sight, observing their routines and waiting for the right moment to act. The pattern was always the same: isolation, deprivation, psychological manipulation, and constant threats. The case recalled that of Cara Robinson Chamberlain, kidnapped by a serial killer in the USA, who survived and helped capture him by providing crucial details about her captivity. Like Cara, Ben paid attention to sounds, smells, and details of the place, which was essential for the rescue. After Rowe's arrest, police found evidence of at least 4 other teenagers held captive in recent years. 2 of them were never found. The basement was a true captivity of horrors, with old newspapers reporting disappearances and news clippings about police investigations. Ben's courage in calling Jamie saved his life and allowed the police to dismantle the kidnappers' scheme. The case generated national debates about the safety of teenagers and search protocols, in addition to warning about the importance of never ignoring calls from unknown numbers in situations of disappearance. For Jamie, the trauma of hearing his friends despair on the phone will never be forgotten. "If I hadn't answered, maybe he wouldn't be here today," he told the press. Ben and Jamie's case has gone down in Leeds police history as an example of courage, intuition, and the power of one last message, a call that saved lives and ended the reign of terror of a previously unseen serial killer. Emergency call snow was falling thinly over Zurich when Dr. Helena Baumgartner took over the night shift at the university hospital. It was an ordinary night until at 10:43 p.m. the emergency phone rang. "Okay, emergency, this is Dr. Helena." On the other side, a childish, trembling voice. It's Anna. Mom, I need help." Helena felt her blood run cold. Anna was his 8-year-old daughter, who was at home with Leo, her 5-year-old brother, under the care of Eva, the new nanny. "Anna, where are you?" "In the bathroom. I locked the door." "Eva is mad, Mom. She locked Leo in the room." "Anna, listen, don't make any noise. I'm going to ask for help now. Don't hang up." Helena signaled the receptionist to call the police and kept Anna on the line. "Anna, can you hear Leo? He's crying." "Eva said she's going to hurt him if he doesn't shut up. The police are already on their way, honey. Stay still. Don't leave the bathroom." While trying to calm her daughter, Helena felt the helplessness of someone who is too far away. Time seemed to drag by. "Anna, is everything okay there? She's knocking on the bathroom door now. He's screaming my name." Helena heard Eva's voice over the phone. "Anna, open that door now!" The voice was cold, completely different from the sweet tone of the interview. "Don't answer, Anna. Be silent," Helena whispered, her voice breaking. At the hospital, colleagues tried to calm her down, but Helena could only think about her children, trapped at home with a stranger. "Anna, listen to me. The police are almost there." On the other side, silence. Then hurried steps. "Mom," she left. "I think he's looking for something." The clock didn't seem to tick. Helena could hear in the background the police siren approaching. "Anna, the police have arrived. Stay where you are until you hear their voice." Over the phone, he heard screams in German, doors being kicked in, footsteps running. "Anna, you can leave now. They're here, Mommy. They caught her. Leo is fine." Helena cried with relief. He excused himself and went home as quickly as possible. He found his children hugging each other, shaking, surrounded by police officers. Eva the nanny was handcuffed, giving Helena a cold look as she was led away. The investigation revealed that Eva was not who she said she was. Her real name was Eva Müller, with a history of misrepresentation and suspected involvement in child abuse in other cantons. She used false documents to work in the homes of high-end families, always for a short time, until something made her run away. In Leo's room, the police found a syringe and a bottle of veterinary sedative. Eva had planned to drug the children, to rob the house, but Anna, noticing the strange behavior, managed to call 911 before it was too late. The case shocked Zurich, prompting a rigorous review of the hiring processes for nannies and care agencies. The hospital where Helena worked implemented a protocol so that employees on duty had access to remote monitoring of their homes and direct contact with the police in emergency situations. Helena, marked by trauma, began campaigning for greater security and background checks on childcare professionals. Anna and Leo, after months of therapy, went back to sleeping peacefully. But Helena never forgot the night she answered an emergency call, coming from the place she least expected it, her own home. Anna and Leo's case was widely reported in the Swiss media, serving as a warning to thousands of families about the dangers of blindly trusting recommendations at agencies. Police discovered that Eva Müller had used at least 4 false identities in recent years, always getting temporary jobs as a nanny in upper-class neighborhoods. In 2 cases, valuables had disappeared, but their involvement had never been proven. After the trial, Eva was sentenced to 12 years in prison for attempted kidnapping, misrepresentation, and attempted poisoning. The prosecutor highlighted, "If it were not for Anna's courage and her mother's presence of mind, the outcome could have been tragic." For Helena, the feeling of guilt and vigilance never completely disappeared. She installed cameras, alarms, and started trusting only nannies recommended by close friends, with double background checks. "I never thought something like this could happen to me," he said in an interview with a local newspaper. "But I learned that no matter how careful we are, danger can come in through the front door, and we don't realize it until it's too late." The story of Anna, Leo, and Helena has become a reference in family safety courses across Switzerland, reminding everyone that sometimes the biggest nightmare is not the one we imagine, but the one hidden behind a smile and a perfect CV. What's up, guys? The strange phone call stories are chilling even now, aren't they? If you're enjoying these scary stories, take the opportunity to take a quick break, subscribe to the channel and leave your like. This really helps the channel grow and motivates me to continue bringing you more chilling content. Now, shall we go back to the next stories? There's still a lot of fear ahead. The connection game, it all started as an innocent joke. It was Friday night, and the group of friends, Lotte, Martin, Sander and Noor, gathered at Sander's apartment for the traditional night of pizza, movies and laughter. Between slices of pepperoni and craft beers, cell phones vibrated at the same time, displaying a video call from an unknown number. They laughed, thinking it was some collective prank, but they answered it together, curious. On the screen, a face covered by a white mask, expressionless, and a distorted voice echoed through the speakerphone. "Welcome to the game. Each of you has secrets. If you want to keep them, follow my instructions. The first task will be sent soon." The video cut off abruptly. The group laughed nervously, convinced it was a prank from someone they knew. But seconds later, each one received an individual message. The content was disturbing. Private conversations, photos of the group in different locations, screenshots of old chats, even audio recordings inside the apartment. Intimate details that could only have been gleaned from someone watching them. For weeks, the first task seemed harmless. Lotte was to go out and take a photo of herself in front of the 24-hour supermarket, alone in less than 10 minutes. Hesitantly she went, and upon arrival received another message. "Very good. Now smile for the camera on the corner." She looked around and saw a red light flashing on a street light, feeling exposed and vulnerable like never before. Back at the apartment, the group realized it was no joke. Martin received the next task, to send the group an audio recording confessing a secret he had never told anyone. In a panic, he revealed an old affair with Sander's ex-girlfriend. The atmosphere between them became heavy. Confidence was shaken, but the phone rang again. Well done, Martin. Now, Noor, it's your turn. Tasks became increasingly risky. Noor was supposed to enter the neighboring building and ring the fire alarm. Sander was instructed to destroy his own laptop, under threat that compromising photos of him would be sent to his boss. With each hesitation, they received videos of themselves inside the apartment, recorded from impossible angles, suggesting that cameras were hidden there. Fear took over. Sander searched the apartment and found a micro camera behind the bookshelf. Noor found another one in the lamp. The group realized that they had been being watched for much longer than they imagined. "Nee," masked voice continued, "you have no choice. If they stop, everything I know will be exposed. And remember, I'm closer than you think." The tasks evolved into real dangers. Lotte was forced to steal an item from a convenience store. Martin, breaking into a building's garage and photographing a specific car. Noor was instructed to leave. The building's gate unlocked and walk alone to a dark park. The group tried to call for help, but every time they typed messages to the police, they received alerts. If you call someone, your secrets will go to all your contacts. The control was absolute, the feeling of powerlessness suffocating. Desperate, they began looking for patterns in messages and camera images. Noor noticed that the masked voice always knew exactly where they were, even when they tried to leave. The building together, they received an instant call. "Come back now. Last chance." It was Martin who noticed. The videos sent always showed the same angle from a window in the apartment. They searched the building and, in the empty upstairs apartment, found a notebook, router, and dozens of connected cameras. The attacker had set up a surveillance center there, using the building's Wi-Fi network to monitor every movement. When they entered, the notebook displayed one last message: "Congratulations, you passed the test. Now they know what it's like to be watched and controlled. Use this fear to never take your privacy for granted again." Next to it, there was a flash drive with all the compromising files and a note: "Destroy this and no one will know." The police were called, but the fingerprints in the apartment did not match any records. The attacker disappeared without a trace. The case was investigated as an invasion of privacy and extortion, but no arrests were made. For Lotte, Martin, Sander, and Noor, that night changed everything. They moved apartments, replaced cell phones, installed security systems, and spent months in therapy. The trauma of being watched, manipulated, and threatened by someone invisible marked them forever. The group grew apart, with the trust between them shaken by what they were forced to reveal and do. The case became known as the Connection Game in the Rotterdam newspapers, serving as a warning about digital vulnerability and the dangers of secrets kept in times of constant surveillance. To this day, none of them answer calls from unknown numbers, and everyone looks twice before trusting any camera anywhere. This detail deepens the feeling of paranoia, the group dynamics, and the psychological impact of digital horror, making the story even more realistic and unsettling. To Central of Missing Persons, the summer in Lisbon seemed to have no end when Clara Mendes, investigative reporter for Diário da Cidade, started receiving calls. The first call came at 2:14. In the morning, a muffled male voice sounded in the dark. "If you want to meet Inês Duarte, go to Estrada do Vale, kilometer 12. But go alone." Inês was the most popular case at the time, a 17-year-old student who had been missing for 10 days. Clara hesitated, but the precision of the tip made her act. Without informing the police, she drove alone in the early hours of the morning to the indicated location. The asphalt gleamed wetly under the streetlights, and the silence of the road heightened the feeling of being watched. On the side of the road, he found a bloody handkerchief, later recognized by the victim's family. Her discovery made headlines and made her the journalist of the moment. The next day, another call, this time more direct: "Do you want to help or just show up?" Go to the old pier tonight. On the pier, Clara found a backpack with documents belonging to Pedro Luro, who had been missing for 3 weeks. The pattern was repeated. Each clue led to a new piece of evidence, always before the police, always. With Clara as the discoverer, the informant seemed to know everything: police search schedules, patrol routes, even intimate details of the victims and Clara's own routine. The calls became frequent, the instructions more detailed. Don't trust anyone, Clara. Only I can help you find the missing people. At first, the police were grateful, but Detective Teixeira soon warned her, "You are always one step ahead. If you're not careful, you could become suspicious." Clara started recording the calls. In one of them, the informant revealed that he knew details about his life. "You left your car open last night. The black cat you feed on the street is called Tobias, right?" Fear set in. She realized she was being watched. Despite the risk, he followed the instructions. He found children's clothes buried in a park, a bracelet attached to a tree, a note with the name of a third victim. But, analyzing the clues, he noticed a pattern. All the evidence seemed carefully planted to be found at the right time, as if someone controlled not only what they discovered, but also what the police failed to investigate. With the help of a writing colleague, Clara cross-referenced call times with records of disappearances and police operations. He discovered that after each discovery, the police discarded alternative routes and focused only on the clues they found. This allowed the kidnapper to cover tracks, change hiding places, and manipulate media focus. The case was reminiscent of other real mysteries, where planted clues confuse authorities and journalists, delaying the resolution and increasing the family's trauma. The calls became more invasive. "You're wearing the blue blouse today, Clara. I like the red one better. Don't try to fool me." The next clue is closer than you think. The psychological pressure increased. Clara began to doubt her colleagues, the police, even herself. The informant seemed to anticipate his steps, changing his voice, the time of calls, using public telephones and open Wi-Fi networks to avoid tracking, in common practices in cases of disappearances and real persecution. One night, when following a tip to an abandoned warehouse, Clara found hidden cameras and a wall with news clippings about all the missing people and about her. The location was clearly used to surveil, document and manipulate not only the victims, but also the journalist herself. On the wall, a photo of you sleeping with the caption, "The next clue is you." Scared, Clara went to the police with all the recordings and evidence. Detective Teixeira, now convinced, set up an operation to track the calls. They discovered that the informant used public Wi-Fi networks and constantly changed SIM cards, making tracking difficult. But by analyzing images from security cameras, from cafes and libraries close to the locations of the calls, they were able to identify a pattern of times and a man in a blue cap always present. The turning point came when Clara, while following a clue to an underground parking lot, realized she was being followed. The man in the blue cap watched her from afar. She discreetly called the police, who arrived in time to detain him. He was a former forensic investigator, fired for manipulating evidence years before, who used his knowledge to kidnap people and confuse the investigations. He chose victims with varied profiles, planted clues, and used Clara as a central piece to guide the police and media narrative. In the suspect's apartment, the police found a true operations center. Maps, schedules, disposable cell phones, files. On each victim, and recordings of all calls made to Clara. There was also a dossier about her with routines, habits, and even recordings of private conversations. The case shocked Portugal. Clara, marked by trauma, moved away from investigative journalism. "The scariest thing," he declared in an interview, "was realizing that while I thought I was helping the families, I was being used as an instrument to cover tracks and feed the kidnappers' game. Clara Mendez's story became a reference in journalism and police investigation courses, reminding us that, in cases of disappearance, not every clue is a step forward. Sometimes it is just another movement of an invisible manipulator who observes and controls every connection, every decision, every life. Even after the kidnapper's arrest, Clara never answered calls from unknown numbers again. And for the reporters who came after her, one piece of advice remained. Be wary of clues that are too easy. They can be traps, not shortcuts to the truth. This detail delves into the tension, psychological impact, and behind-the-scenes aspects of journalistic investigation, aligning with real investigative practices and the risks faced by reporters in cases of disappearances. The link from the past: Thomas Keller, 41, lived a seemingly peaceful life in Hamburg. Owner of a small logistics company, he was married to Lena and father of an 8-year-old girl. That March night, as I was reviewing contracts in my home office, the phone rang. The display showed unknown number. He almost ignored it, but something made him answer. "Good evening, Thomas." The voice was calm, masculine, with a slight northern accent. "Who speaks?" "Someone who remembers the summer of 2002 very well. From the forest, near Bremen." "Of what you did that night." Thomas's blood ran cold. He hadn't heard that name in over 20 years. In 2002, at the age of 19, Thomas and 2 friends, Marcus and Jens, attended a clandestine party in a forest near Bremen. Between alcohol, drugs and arguments, Eric, a schoolmate, disappeared after a violent fight. The case was never resolved. The body was never found. The 3 swore silence and went on with their lives. "I don't know what you're talking about," Thomas tried, his voice breaking. "Don't lie. I know everything, and I have proof. If you don't want everyone to know, you will follow my instructions." The call dropped. Thomas's heart was racing. He spent the night awake, revisiting memories he tried to bury. The next day he received a message. An old photo of him, Marcus, Jens and Eric, the night he disappeared. Alongside, an audio recorded in the forest, with voices altered by fear and alcohol. The blackmailer started slowly. It required small bank transfers, information about co-workers, access to company documents. With each hesitation, new threats. "You don't want Lena to know, do you? Not your daughter, neither do the police." The voice detailed events from Thomas's youth, mentioning details that only someone present could know, or someone who had access to diaries, letters and photos that Thomas thought were securely kept. The demands increased. The stranger told Thomas to visit the old crime scene in the woods near Bremen and send a photo of the exact spot where Eric disappeared. He told him to dig for souvenirs, and when he found nothing, demanded that Thomas leave a confession letter buried there, photographing everything. Paranoia took over. Thomas distrusted everyone, colleagues, neighbors, even his wife. He installed cameras at home, changed routines, but the calls continued, always from different numbers, always at night. One night, the voice ordered, "Go to the office tomorrow night, alone. In the back closet, there is a black box. Pick it up and follow the instructions." In the office, Thomas found the box. Inside, photos and personal effects of Eric, who had been missing for decades. A note. "The truth always comes back." Desperate, Thomas looked for Marcus. It turned out that he was also being blackmailed. The third, Jens, had died in an alleged accident months earlier. Together, they tried to track down the caller, but without success. The blackmailer seemed to anticipate every step. The pressure increased. The blackmailer demanded that Thomas sabotage an important contract for his company, harming colleagues and putting jobs at risk. In exchange, he promised to destroy the evidence. Thomas refused, and the next day Lena received an anonymous envelope with copies of the photos and a note. "Ask Thomas about Bremen. With no way out, Thomas went to the police. He reported everything, handed over recordings, emails, evidence of the blackmail. The investigation revealed that the blackmailer was Eric's younger brother, who, after years of his own investigation, had found diaries, tapes, and letters hidden in his brother's old room. Fueled by anger and a desire for justice, he spent years collecting evidence and monitoring those involved. The police managed to arrest the blackmailer before he exposed everything publicly. The case came to light, and Thomas had to face not only justice, but also family and public opinion. The 2002 crime was finally solved. Eric had died accidentally after the fight, and his friends, terrified, hid the body and lied to everyone. The truth destroyed families, friendships, and reputations. For Thomas, the real terror was not the physical threat, but the weight of guilt and the constant fear of being discovered. "The past is never buried," he told the court, "and sometimes all it takes is one phone call for everything to fall apart." The case became known as "The Connection from the Past" in the German press, serving as a warning to everyone who believes that ancient secrets will never return to the surface. And for Thomas, every phone ring at night will always be a reminder that there are sins that never go away, and that all it takes is one voice from the past to turn an entire life into an endless nightmare. Cross calls. When Emily Foster began to notice that her calls were dropped or answered by unfamiliar voices, she thought it was just another glitch on the part of the operators. Working as a graphic designer in Vancouver, she depended on her cell phone for everything: work, family, friends. But little by little, the discomfort turned into fear. The first time was with his mother. Emily called, heard the ring, but the answer was a calm male voice that said, "Emily, your mother can't talk right now." She hung up, confused, and tried again. This time, the call did not go through. Later, the mother swore she had not received any calls. The following week, Emily's boyfriend complained that she wasn't responding to his messages. Emily, in turn, had received nothing. At work, a colleague commented that her text responses were weird, short and cold. Emily realized something was wrong. Her conversations were being intercepted, edited, or blocked. He tried to call the operator, but got through to an automatic center that never completed the service. When he finally managed to speak to an attendant, the connection dropped mid-explanation. That night, when she tried to call her best friend, she heard the male voice again. "Emily, you're too busy to talk today." The tone was almost gentle, but deeply unsettling. The next day, Emily received an anonymous email. "You are being watched. Be careful what you say." The address was from a Russian provider, impossible to trace. She changed passwords, activated two-factor authentication, but the flaws persisted. Her social media began to feature views of places she had never been. Private photos disappeared, messages were deleted before she could read them. Emily started to feel isolated. Co-workers began avoiding her, citing harsh responses in conversations she never had. Her boyfriend ended the relationship, saying she was different and distant. Her worried mother suggested therapy, but Emily knew she wasn't imagining things. Determined to find out what was happening, she sought out a digital security specialist. He confirmed that Emily's cell phone had been cloned and that all her communications were being routed through an intermediary server. "This is someone who knows your routine, your contacts, your habits," explained the specialist. "Someone who wants to isolate you." That night, Emily received a call from her own number. He answered and heard the male voice, "You don't need anyone but me." The tone was cold, possessive. "Stop trying to ask for help. If you continue, everyone will know what you did." Frightened, Emily realized that the stalker knew intimate details, dates, places, even conversations that only existed in her memory. He threatened to release compromising photos, edited audios, and manipulated conversations. "You can't trust anyone. Only I am honest with you." Emily tried to alert the police, but every time she called, the call was redirected or dropped. Emails to authorities were returned as non-existent recipient. She realized she was completely isolated, trapped in a digital web. The stalker began to control his agenda. False messages scheduled non-existent meetings. Important appointments were cancelled without his knowledge. Colleagues began to suspect his sanity. Emily lost her job after missing meetings she never knew existed. Desperate, she decided to act offline. Using a public telephone, she managed to contact the security specialist, who helped her track down the server where the interceptions came from. They arrived at a small apartment in the suburbs of Vancouver. The police were called and found a 37-year-old man at the scene, a former IT technician at a company where Emily had freelanced years before. He had developed an obsession with her after a brief professional contact, and, using technical knowledge, spent months monitoring, manipulating, and destroying her social and professional life. In the apartment, they found computers with records of all conversations, edited audios, scripts for intercepting calls and messages, and even a wall with photos of Emily, detailed schedules and routines. Emily spent months in therapy to overcome the trauma of forced isolation. The scariest thing, he said in testimony, was realizing that someone can take control of your life without ever touching you, and that when you try to ask for help, no one can listen. The case became known as cross calls in the Canadian press, serving as a warning about the dangers of digital surveillance and anonymous obsession. Emily moved cities, changed her name, and, since then, has never answered calls from unknown numbers again, and always looks twice before trusting any connection. And so we come to the end of our 7 horror stories involving strange phone calls. So which one scared you the most? Will any make you think twice before answering an unknown number? Tell us in the comments which one was your favorite. If you enjoyed this dive into the world of mysterious connections, don't forget to leave a like. This really helps the channel grow and encourages me to bring you more scary stories. And if you are not yet registered, take the opportunity now to sign up and activate the bell. See you in the next video. If the phone doesn't ring. Again, until later,